the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Have you ever stopped to think how certain actions, ones we usually see as, well, really harmful, might get reframed? Or even justified in ways that seem totally unexpected? Today, we're going to dig into a source covering exactly that kind of challenging, a really controversial topic. Our job here is to take the source material you've provided, pull out the key bits of information, and help you understand the specific arguments being made, no matter how difficult they might be to hear. We're focusing on an article dated July 26, 2025. It's titled, "Muslim Doctor Defends Wife Beating, Advises Husbands to Avoid Serious Injury," calls it Therapeutic. The author is Sarah Arnold, and it features a doctor from Gaza's Islamic University.
That's right. And this deep dive is all about understanding the very specific perspective offered in that article. We're looking at the detailed instructions, the justifications that this particular doctor gives regarding wife beating, as reported in the source. Just to be clear, our aim isn't to agree or disagree, not to endorse or condemn. It's purely to unpack what the article says and how it presents this information. We want to give you an unfiltered look at this specific viewpoint based entirely on the source you gave us.
Okay, so let's start with probably the most striking claim reported in the article. This assertion from the doctor that husbands, Palestinian husbands specifically, are obligated to beat their wives. But, and this is the really strange part, with these very specific, almost counterintuitive conditions, what's the core justification the article provides for this?
Well, what's really fascinating, or perhaps disturbing, depending on how you see it, is the justification highlighted in the article. He frames it as therapeutic, not vindictive. That word choice, therapeutic, is doing a lot of work there.
Therapeutic, right.
Yeah. The article explains his reasoning is to warn the wife that the life of the family is in danger and that marital relations are in danger. He adds, according to the source, she needs to be cautious and not let the family be destroyed. So what you see here is an attempt within the source's narrative to shift the perception, moving it away from simple violence towards something framed as, well, corrective care.
But how does the article explain reconciling this idea of beating, which is inherently violent, with concepts like therapy or safeguarding the family? It seems like a huge contradiction. The article mentions the beating should be symbolic yet real and has specific conditions and guidelines. How does the source explain bridging that gap?
That's the central tension, isn't it? And the article does detail how the doctor tries to navigate this. It lays out several key guidelines he apparently gives. Husbands should avoid striking in sensitive areas like the face or vital organs. That's crucial.
Okay.
And also says the beating should not be severe or motivated by malice. The aim, explicitly stated in the source, is not to seek revenge or cause harm,
But rather
to correct her behavior and safeguard the family. So, the article presents two main points to bridge that gap you mentioned. First, the intention. It has to be corrective, family-focused, not malicious. Second, the method. Strict limits to avoid actual injury.
I see. So it's these precise conditions that are supposed to make it therapeutic rather than just, well, assault.
Exactly. According to the argument presented in the article, it portrays the act not as rage, but as a controlled, almost clinical intervention. That's key to the therapeutic framing reported in the source.
And to really hammer this home, the article says the doctor uses some pretty provocative analogies, comparisons that try to redefine the act itself. Can you walk us through those? What does the article suggest their purpose is?
Yes, the article mentions two main ones. They are quite something. The first is the husband beating his wife should be like a guy beating his sweetheart.
Wow.
And it even references a saying, the beloved's first is as sweet as raisins.
Okay, that's certainly a comparison.
It is. The second analogy reported is, it's like when a father beats his son or when a mother beats her daughter for doing something wrong. And again, the article connects this back to the idea that the beating should be therapeutic for correction.
So the point of these analogies, as presented in the article, seems to be, what, normalization?
I think that's how the article frames their function, yes.
Yeah.
By comparing this act to things like parental discipline or even this odd idea of sweetheart affection, the language attempts to, blur the lines. It shifts the context, inviting you to maybe see it through a lens of tough love, perhaps, rather than just harm. It's a rhetorical strategy highlighted by the source.
And this perspective, the doctor's view reported in the article, it's also tied to religious text, right? The source mentions a controversial verse in the Quran. What does the article say about that connection? How does his interpretation fit?
Right. The source explains that this Quranic verse outlines a kind of sequence for dealing with a wife deemed disobedient. Step 1, advise her.
Okay.
Step 2, refuse to share her bed. And then step 3, as a final resort, strike her. Now, the doctor's guidelines, as the article presents them, seem to align with this. But crucially, his focus is all on the manner of that final step, the striking.
Ah, so his interpretation, as reported, emphasizes the how.
Precisely. The article shows his interpretation focusing on that controlled execution, not severe, not harmful, which ties directly back into his whole therapeutic argument we discussed.
Okay, so putting all these pieces together from the article, how does it ultimately frame the doctor's complete message? If someone's trying to grasp this specific viewpoint just from this source, what's the picture it paints?
Well, synthesizing the information purely from this article, the picture is of a very specific, highly conditional form of physical correction. It's presented as purpose-driven, aimed at family preservation, not harm. It's justified as therapeutic, and it's linked to a specific interpretation of a religious text. The key thing is that it's portrayed as non-injurious and subject to strict rules. Again, our focus here has just been on extracting and laying out these precise claims and justifications as they appear in the article you provided, giving you that unfiltered look at how this viewpoint is constructed within this specific source.
So today we've taken a deep dive into this single article, exploring a very specific and, let's face it, deeply controversial viewpoint from a doctor in Gaza regarding wife beating. We've unpacked the justifications reported, the strict conditions, the unusual analogies he uses, and the religious context mentioned in the source.
Right. Our goal was simply to lay out exactly what this source says, giving you those nuggets of information from within it. Understanding the precise arguments, the framing, the language used in sources like this, even when uncomfortable, is really crucial if you want to be genuinely well-informed, especially on complex, sensitive topics. And it definitely leaves you with something to think about.
It really does. May think about how the specific words used in this source, like therapeutic, or that analogy like a guy beating his sweetheart, how they actively try to reshape the perception of an act. How much can the framing, the language used to describe something, actually impact how it's interpreted or maybe even accepted in different situations or by different groups? That's something to consider.
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're dying